All right. Ready to dive into something we all do but probably don't think much about?
Okay, shoot.
Yawning. You know that weird thing where your mouth basically tries to become a parachute?
Right, right.
We've got some articles here, and I have to say,
Yeah.
I'm weirdly excited to unpack this.
You and me both.
Mm-hmm.
It's like one of those everyday mysteries that science still hasn't completely figured out.
See, that's what makes this so cool. Okay, so first things first. Why do we even yawn?
Good question.
One of these articles debunked the whole oxygen thing right off the bat,
Yeah.
which surprised me. What's the real story?
Yeah, that's a myth.
Okay.
The idea that yawning increases oxygen levels.
Right.
It's a myth. The more likely explanation is that it helps to regulate our brain temperature. Think of it like a built-in cooling system for your brain.
So midday yawns at my desk are actually my brain trying to stay sharp.
Possibly, yeah.
That's wild, and there's research to back this up.
Absolutely. Studies have shown that raising the surrounding temperature can actually trigger yawns
Really?
in rats.
Okay.
And after the yawn, the rat's brain temperature dropped.
Wow, that's pretty convincing evidence. But okay, what about contagious yawning? You know, I see you yawn, and
Yeah.
suddenly I'm yawning too.
Right.
Why does that happen?
That's the million-dollar question. One theory is social mirroring. This idea that we're hardwired to mimic others, and that mirroring behavior could be linked to empathy.
You know, I've always wondered about that. Like, why do I suddenly feel the urge to yawn when I see someone else do it?
Yeah.
It's so strange.
Yeah, it might sound strange, but some scientists believe that contagious yawning is a primal way of showing empathy and understanding.
Huh.
And it's not just us humans. Chimpanzees do it too.
That's fascinating. So if I see you yawn and then I yawn, it's like we're subconsciously connecting on some level.
In a way, yes. It's like a silent signal that says, hey, I get you. But there's another theory
Okay.
that focuses on group vigilance and survival.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting. Group vigilance.
Imagine you're an early human, part of a group on the savannah. If one person starts to get drowsy and yawns, it could be a signal for everyone else to snap to attention.
You're kidding? My yawn could have saved my tribe from, like, a saber-toothed cat.
Yeah.
That's way cooler than just being tired. And there's actually a study that supports this, right? Something about snakes.
Right. Researchers showed people videos of yawning.
Okay.
And afterward, those people were faster at spotting images of snakes,
Hidden.
hidden in other pictures. It suggests that yawning might prime our brains for vigilance.
Wow. Okay, so maybe those yawns aren't just from my brain overheating after all. Speaking of which, one of these articles mentioned a possible link between yawning and stress.
Interesting.
And I always thought of yawning as the opposite of a stress response.
Right.
Shouldn't yawning be, like, relaxing, not stressful?
It seems counterintuitive,
Yeah.
but think about it. When we yawn, we increase blood flow to the brain,
Okay.
which could be preparing us to react to a stressful or dangerous situation.
So instead of fight or flight, it's more like yawn and focus.
Yeah, something like that.
This is blowing my mind. It's fascinating, isn't it? This seemingly simple action of yawning could be our body's way of getting us ready for action.
It's fascinating, isn't it? This seemingly simple action of yawning could be our body's way of getting us ready for action.
Okay, so we've got brain cooling, empathy, AND stress response, all tied into yawning.
Right.
It's like the Swiss Army knife of bodily functions.
I like that. But, the plot thickens when we look at how yawning works in different people.
Oh, interesting.
For example, one of the articles you sent mentioned a possible link between contagious yawning and autism.
Oh, yeah, that caught my eye, too. Does that mean people with autism don't yawn as much?
Not necessarily. It's more about the contagious aspect. Some studies suggest that individuals with autism might be less susceptible to catching yawns from others, but they still yawn spontaneously.
So it's not the yawn itself, but the social trigger that's different.
Exactly. Remember how we were talking about social mirroring and empathy potentially being involved in contagious yawning?
Right, like my brain sees you yawn, thinks, oh, I should do that too, and boom, yawn party.
Well, some researchers believe that differences in social cognition and empathy, which can be associated with autism, might explain why contagious yawning works a bit differently.
That makes a lot of sense, especially since, as we learned, contagious yawning doesn't even really show up until kids are around 5 years old, which is when they're starting to develop those empathetic responses.
It's a compelling connection, for sure. And it highlights how these tiny, everyday actions can give us huge clues about the brain and how it works.
You know what else blows my mind? The whole brain cooling thing.
Yeah.
One of the articles describe it as our brain basically hitting the reset button. It's like having a superpower.
It does sound pretty incredible,
Yeah.
and the research seems to support it.
Okay.
Warmer brain temperatures often lead to more frequent yawning.
Okay, so let me get this straight. My brain heats up, I yawn to cool it down, you see me yawn, your brain goes, hold on, better check my temperature too, and you yawn.
It's a possibility.
Yeah.
We don't have all the answers yet, but some scientists think this kind of synchronized alertness could be beneficial for a group.
Whoa, synchronized yawning. That's next level. So not only could my yawn have saved my caveman buddies from, like, a woolly mammoth attack,
Chuckles, right.
it might also be helping my friends and family stay on top of their game today.
Exactly.
I never thought I'd be this proud of my yawning abilities. But, for all the good things we've uncovered, one article did connect yawning to stress.
Right.
And I gotta admit, that still throws me for a loop. Shouldn't yawning be relaxing, not stressful?
It can be both. Think back to how yawning increases blood flow to the brain. It's like that boost of energy you get when you're facing a challenge.
Oh, right, like a game on signal.
Precisely. That surge of alertness can be incredibly helpful in stressful situations because it makes us more responsive.
So it's less about, relaxation and more like, okay, brain, time to focus.
Exactly. And there's even research suggesting that people who yawn more in stressful situations might be better at bouncing back from challenges.
Wait, are you serious? So those people in the movie theater who yawn during the scary parts, they might actually be handling the stress better than those of us who are too freaked out to even think about yawning.
That's what some researchers are suggesting. It's still an area we're learning about, but it's a really cool possibility, don't you think?
This whole conversation has been full of cool possibilities. We've gone from yawning is just for when you're tired to yawning might be a superpower in the span of like 20 minutes. It really makes you wonder what other hidden depths our everyday actions have.
It's a great point. Yawning is something we all do, yet it's way more complex than it seems. And that's the beauty of science and curiosity. There's always something new to uncover, even the most ordinary things.
Absolutely. So the next time you feel a yawn coming on, don't fight it. Embrace it. It could be your brain saying thank you, or reminding your friends to stay sharp, or even just helping you gear up for whatever challenge comes next.
And hey, maybe, just maybe, it's a little echo of a behavior that helped our ancestors thrive. Who knew yawning could be so profound?
Right. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the wonderfully weird world of yawning. We'll catch you on the next episode where we'll figure that out later. Until then, stay curious. Okay, so multiple muscle groups, coordinated sequence. It's like my body is putting on a whole yawn-themed ballet in there.
You could say that. It all starts with that deep inhalation, you know,
right.
how your jaw kind of stretches out wide.
Yeah.
That's not just for show.
Really?
It helps expand your chest cavity and pull in way more air than a normal breath.
So it really is a supersized breath.
It is.
But you said there's more to it than that, right? What are all those muscles up to?
Well, your facial muscles are obviously involved,
Right.
but it also engages muscles in your neck and even your diaphragm. It's like your whole upper body is getting in on the action.
Wow. I had no idea. A yawn was such a team effort. No wonder it feels so good, especially when I'm tired. Is there a reason for that? Like a physiological moment?
There could be. Remember how we were talking about yawns cooling down the brain?
Yeah.
Well, some scientists believe that feeling of relief you get after a good yawn might actually be your brain's way of saying, thanks. That hit the spot.
So my brain is basically giving me a little reward for regulating its temperature. I'll take it. This deep dive has really changed how I see something as simple as yawning. We've gone from tired signal to this whole intricate system with ties to our brains, our social lives, maybe even our survival instincts.
It really highlights how much we're still learning about even the most basic human behaviors.
Yeah.
And it shows how important it is to keep asking questions and digging deeper, even the things we think we understand.
Absolutely. So the next time you feel a yawn coming on, don't fight it. Embrace it. It could be your brain saying thank you, or reminding your friends to stay sharp, or even just helping you gear up for whatever challenge comes next.
And hey, maybe, just maybe, it's a little echo of a behavior that helped our ancestors thrive. Who knew yawning could be so profound?
Right. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the wonderfully weird world of yawning. We'll catch you on the next episode where we'll figure that out later. Until then, stay curious.